Hello and welcome to my Windows 11 tutorial video. Please note that this video is a compilation of my playlist series on my channel labeled How to Use a Computer with Windows 11 for Beginners. I didn't originally intend on making a full video with all of them combined, so please excuse any transitions that don't flow super well in between the lessons. Regardless, I will do my best to edit it so it's as smooth as possible. There is a lot of good content here. Be sure to watch the video until the end, and also be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And let's get started. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video by Blissful Techno Health. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use a computer using Windows 11. This is going to be lesson 1 or video 1 in a series that I'm going to create in a playlist on my channel. This video series is going to be for beginners. In this lesson 1 video, I'm just going to be showing you some basics about the computer, just getting to know some things about your computer and your desktop screen. Here you can see my mouse cursor moving around, and you can see I have a variety of different things here. You have kind of a cool looking background picture that comes with Windows 11. I've got some icons over here. I've got some icons down here on the bottom. I've got some other icons down here on the bottom right. Now for starters, an icon is basically any kind of a virtual button that you can press or click on using your mouse. Some of these icons require a double click. Some of them require a single click, but we'll get into that more advanced, we'll get into that a little more detail later on. For now, we're just going to kind of cover some basics. These are the desktop icons that I have on my computer. Yours will look different. You're going to have different icons than I do, depending on what programs you have installed and what other things that you have going on, what shortcuts you've created, and etc. So don't be worried if your computer doesn't look exactly like mine. That is okay. Nobody's computer is going to look the same. So just understand that. But you're always going to have these icons over here as shortcuts to access programs on the computer. Okay. And then you'll see down here on the very bottom, we have this bar with some more icons on it. Okay. On the bottom right, you can see that we have the time and the date. We've got, this is a laptop, so it's plugged in and it's showing me the battery usage. I have my volume sound icon controller here, my wireless internet access connection here, and etc. You don't need to know a lot about these now, but just know that there's a purpose to all these icons here, and we may go over those in more detail later. Now, depending on your computer, these will also vary. Over here in the middle, you're going to find some more icons. Over here, you'll typically find icons that you use more often on a regular basis. Your file explorer, your web browsers, commonly used programs, and etc. So these are other things that are other icons just to make it easier to access programs quickly, just like these are over here on the desktop as well. Now, a couple of important things to understand is you've got two buttons here that are going to be highly utilized on your computer. You've got the search, and you've got this one to the left of it as your start menu. Okay, the search is going to be your best friend, because anytime you need to find something on your computer, you can search for it here. And not only can you search for it on your computer for like what apps you have or documents on the computer, you can also do a web search from here. Now this will direct you to use typically your Windows Edge browser, which is just fine. We can go into more detail about that later. But just understand that you have the search utility here to search. Very important, very useful. Here's your start menu, also very important and very useful. Here in the start menu, it's very customizable. You can customize different icons in here just like you can on your desktop. You can control what icons you have in here, which ones you don't want in here, just for easier access and more organization. Down here, it's going to list recommended apps, things that you've used a lot in the past, things that it thinks it wants you to use, etc., etc. Don't worry about it too much for now. This will morph and change as you use your computer. And it can make it easy to find things if you don't have anything pinned, but it's something you've used recently and don't know where you have an icon for it. We'll get into this in more detail later on how to change these icons or unpin them, as they call it, or pin them here for icons that you want to have in here organized and how you want to use it. So for now, that's a basic rundown of your desktop screen. Your desktop has this picture that can be changed. You've got icons that can be changed. You've got your time, date, etc. Okay, and these icons down here. Now, a few bits of important information, at least in my opinion, they're important because I think it's important to know about the hardware in your computer, because every computer is going to be different, and your computer will have different hardware specifications than someone else's. The hardware specifications can be different things like what processor you're running in your computer, what hard drive you have, and how much storage, how much space you have available on that hard drive, how much RAM you have in your hard drive or on your computer. The RAM is an acronym for Random Access Memory, and that memory is used to help it's space on the computer for how many programs you have open to help keep things organized behind the scenes. The more RAM you have, the more desk space per se your computer has to work with. We won't go into that in a whole lot of detail right now, but for now let's just talk about where to find those specifications. So if you come down here, you can see your start menu. If I left click on it, it brings up the normal start menu. I can also right click on this start button and it will give me a different menu. That right click gives me this menu here, which has an icon on it that we want to go to that says System. So feel free to right click on that and follow along and come up to System and left click on System. When you pull up System, this is going to give you some information about your computer. Okay, it's going to give you the device name when it was originally set up. But what we want to look at is right here, the processor and the installed random access memory or RAM. On this computer, you can see that I have an Intel i5-8250U CPU or Central Processing Unit. This is running at 1.6 gigahertz. And this particular processor that I have is a quad core with hyperthreading, so it shows up as an 8 core. But I'll show you that in just a minute. You can see here I have 8 gigs of RAM installed. Now this is important to know because some programs on your computer are going to require certain hardware specifications in order for that program to run properly. So if you're going to run a really big fancy game on a computer that doesn't have enough RAM, then you're going to have a problem. Or if the processor is not going to be powerful enough, you're also going to have a problem. The game may not run at all, or it's going to run really slow. So this is really good to know. Think of it as like the engine under the hood of a car. If you got a little V4 car, it's not going to be good for racing. You get a little V6, yeah, it might get a little better if you have a small car, a little turbo V6. So think of it as kind of your engine. You're looking under the hood, trying to see what hardware specifications you have. Now, this shows us our processor and our RAM, but one other thing that's very important to know is your hard drive space. So we're going to come up here, we're going to click this X up here. It's just gray until you come over it and then the box turns red. So go ahead and click on that. And then you want to come over to File Explorer. Okay, that's this manila folder down here. You want to click on that, and when you click on it, mine's set to go to videos because I'm working with videos. You want to come over to the left and click on this PC. So you get this file or this menu open. Come to the left, click on this PC. When you click on this PC, you're going to see you have different options available here, different icons. Now, under devices and drives, you'll see there's a little arrow here. I can hide that or bring it down. Local disk C. Anytime you have a C labeled drive, that is going to be the main hard drive in your computer that Windows is actually installed on. That's going to be your main storage. You can have additional hard drives installed, but you can see on mine, I have just this one hard drive. On this hard drive, you can see that it says I have 148 gigabytes free of 222 gigabytes. So this hard drive has 222 gigabytes available in total on the drive. But I've only got 148 free because I have programs and other things already installed. This bar tells you the usage in a bar mode. So instead of telling you the actual numbers, it gives you the bar mode. If I hover over it, you can see it says that information as well. When this bar gets full, you got a problem. It means you need to clear up space on your hard drive or add another hard drive and move some things around. So that is your hard drive space. This is not a very big hard drive. Hopefully you got a bigger hard drive depending on what you're running. I don't need a big hard drive in this computer because it's a basic office computer I use in my print shop. So there you have it. Your hard drive. You also know how to find your system information for your random access memory and what processor you're running. We also did a quick rundown on the desktop, what things are on the desktop, or per se that there's icons on the desktop that can be different from icons in your start menu and from your taskbar down here. Now, just remember a few of those terms, that you have your desktop, you have icons, this down here is your taskbar, and those areas where to go to find out what hardware specifications you have. And like I said, that's important to know because if you're going to buy a program that requires a lot, you need to make sure that your computer can run that program. Okay, that's the end of lesson 1. Now let's move into lesson 2. To start this lesson, let's go ahead and go into more detail on using the start menu. The start menu is down here, as we talked about in the other video, on your taskbar on the bottom left, the little Windows symbol. And if you hover over it, you can see, it says start. So if you click on the start menu with your left click, it's going to bring up the start menu here for us to look at. Now, this start menu in Windows 11 is similar to the one in Windows 10, but also different to the one in Windows 10. Now, to go over everything on the start menu, let's look at the top. Here you can see you have type here to search. Okay, that is the same search as you find down here, as we covered in the last video, the search icon. It's the same thing. So if I come up here and click in here, it actually brings me over to the search icons menu. So it's the same thing. It's just more than one way. There's just more than one way to get to that search area. So they give you the spot down here on the taskbar and a spot up here on the start menu. Below the search area, you have an All Apps button. If you click on this All Apps button, this will actually give you an alphabetical list of all the programs that you can access on the computer. And as you can tell, there's quite a few even on a freshly installed computer. Anytime you install a program, it's going to put that here in this list. Now, that's important to know because if you install a new program and you forget to create a shortcut anywhere else, you can always come into this All Apps section and find the program. Now, in Windows 7, it used to be when you clicked on the start menu down here in the bottom left, you had an All Programs button on the bottom left of your start menu. Windows 10 was similar, but they call it All Apps. Well, Windows 11 is the same, they call it All Apps, but they've moved it up here. Same thing, different location. Underneath the All Apps, we have all of our pinned icons. Now, a pinned icon is basically the same thing as a desktop shortcut like you would see over here, but instead, it's in the start menu. They call them pinned when you move them here as a shortcut. You can modify which icons you have pinned in your start menu. If I right-click on any of these icons, it will give me a menu, and I can unpin it from start if I do not want it here. So let's say I don't want the Disney Plus app on here, pinned. I can just click on unpin from start, and it's gone. If I want it back, I can come back to All Apps, find that app, right-click on it here, and pin it to start. And that'll move it back. Granted, it's going to move it to a different location. It's going to move it to the bottom. As you can see here, I've got 2 pages of pinned apps. You can have even more depending on how many you want to have pinned. Now, on top of that, you can move your pinned icons around. So if I click and hold on a pinned icon, I can drag it and move it to a different location. So I can click on clock, hold it, drag it up, and move it where I want. This way you can prioritize the apps that you have according to probably how much you would use the app. Like let's say if I use Facebook all the time, you're probably going to want to have it in the number 1 slot so you can organize and just keep things nice and tidy. Granted, this is all personal preference. I personally don't actually use the start menu very much. I mostly use my desktop icons. But I'm kind of old school. I've been using computers since DOS, and when we moved into Windows 95, it was always mostly dealing with shortcuts on the desktop. But a lot of people do like to use the start menu in the pinned apps, so it's totally optional. But that's a quick review of the pinned apps section in the start menu. I hope that all made sense. Underneath, you're going to see recommended file use. Basically, it's like recently used files or things that they think that you're going to want to use. You can click more to see a larger list of that. I mean, it's here if you need it. If you have a program that you know you've accessed recently but you can't find the icon for whatever reason and you don't want to look in all apps, typically you can find it here. Or if there is a file, and etc. and etc. So that covers the start menu pretty much as a whole for now. Something else that I would like to cover is when to double click, when to single click, and when to right click with your mouse. Any icons you're going to have or shortcuts that you're going to have on your desktop here, you have to double click in order to open up these program shortcuts. Okay? If I just click on it once, it's just going to highlight it and select it. So in order to open these, I have to double click. That is different from the start menu icons. The start menu icons, I only have to single click. So if I single click this clock icon, it brings it up. If I had a shortcut for that clock icon on the desktop, I would have to double click in order to bring it up. The other place that you have to double click is whenever you have your File Explorer opened. Your File Explorer is this manila folder down here, File Explorer. This actually lets you access all of the different files in the computer. We won't go into that detail now, but just know that anytime you're in File Explorer, you also have to double click in order to bring up the shortcut or the menu. So that's just really important to know. Now, also you need to be aware or notice that you have a right click option. Right clicking on any icon will give you a menu with different options to modify the or view properties of the selected icon. So left clicking to select, double left click to open, right click for a different menu with different options. As you can see here, I could pin this to start. I could open the file location, which means it would open the program's file location in the File Explorer, as we showed down here. I can right click, show more options, and get the older view that we used to get on the other versions of Windows to see properties. I can copy, cut, open file location, like we said earlier, and etc. You can also right click and just open it this way instead of double left clicking. Same in the start menu. As I talked earlier, you can right click to get different options to unpin these or pin these. You also have options here that are similar as when they're on the desktop, like run as administrator, you can pin it to the taskbar, you can pull up the app settings, uninstall it from here, and etc. So left clicking is to select, right clicking is for more options or for an extra menu for those extra options. Something else in this video that I would like to cover is the fact that you do have your clock down here in the bottom right hand corner. I reviewed that we have a clock here in the last video, but we're going to talk a little more in detail about this clock. If I left click on the time, it will actually bring up a calendar and also show me notifications. The calendar, you can adjust which month you're looking at, etc., etc. You can select the day that you're looking at. But most importantly, you can actually right click on the time and you'll see you have an adjust date and time option here with the gear, meaning it's in the settings options. So if I click on this, you can modify and adjust your date and time. So if your time is off or incorrect, you can change that here and make it correct. You can see the current time here is 10:27 a.m. on Sunday, Monday 29th of 2022. We can set the time here automatically. I have mine turned off. We can set the adjust for daylight saving time automatically. I have mine turned on. Time zone, I'm in mountain time. Or you can just set it here to manual. Granted, if you have it set to automatic, you cannot set it manually. It's automatically set. So uncheck, make sure it's turned off. Now you can change it manually. So this is the area in which you can change and modify your current time and etc. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, when I right click, it says adjust date and time and it shows a little gear. That little gear means it's in a menu called the settings menu. Now, you can access that settings menu via the start button. If I come to start, you will have a shortcut for settings somewhere in your pinned icons on your start menu. If for some reason you do not have the settings menu listed or the icon, you can go to all apps and it is alphabetical order. So you can scroll down until you get to the S's, find settings, and here's your settings as well. I would recommend keeping this pinned in your start menu because it is something that you will probably have to access from time to time. So you want to make sure you right click on that and pin it to your start menu. If you cannot find it or you just want to take a different route, you can also use the search option by clicking search and typing settings, and it will show that best match right here. Let's go ahead and access the settings. There is a lot that can be done in settings. A lot of important things that you may need to use from time to time. The most important one you're going to see is on the very bottom. This is your Windows Update Settings menu. In here, you're going to see new updates constantly available. It is important to keep your computer up to date for the latest security updates and stability updates. So, as you can see here, I already have an update available, even though I just ran updates the other day. We're not going to run them now for the sake of the video. You can also just click on check for updates if it's not showing any and see if any more pop up. So here you have Windows Update under settings. At the very top you have system, display, sound, notifications, power and battery storage, etc. A lot of different settings. We're not going to go over this in great detail. You've got Bluetooth and devices, network and internet for connecting to your wireless, etc. Personalization can be nice. You can change your theme. For example, if I click on this one here, it'll change the entire theme and the color theme, the background, the colors, etc. I'll go ahead and go back to this one for now. App management in here, all the apps that you have installed, the accounts that you have on the computer, time and language, which can take you to the date and time that it brought us to from earlier over here. So settings is very important because there are going to be times when you need to pop over into settings and play with some of your settings manually, especially that Windows Update. So that covers all of the material for lesson 2. We reviewed the start menu, where all the apps are, all the pin different apps, how to move them around, how to unpin apps. We reviewed left clicking versus right clicking and double clicking and when it's appropriate. We reviewed the time, how to adjust the date and time, and we also reviewed the settings menu briefly. We'll go into more detail on the settings later, but for now, just be aware that it's there and what's in the settings menu.
And now, moving on to the next lesson.
This video is lesson 3, and we're going to be going over File Explorer and how to move folders and files around, how to copy and paste, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, File Explorer is it's super important to know and understand File Explorer, its functions, what it does, what it's for. File Explorer you can find on your taskbar down here on the bottom. You can see this manila folder here. That's your File Explorer. So if you click on File Explorer, it's going to bring up the File Explorer program. File Explorer, in a nutshell, is a program that allows you to explore and browse all of the files on the computer. Literally all of them. And what I mean by all of them is, now I'm going to just jump around for a minute here. You don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to exactly what I'm doing, but you can see I am going to go into the Windows directory. This Windows directory is the Windows program itself with all of its components, files, and folders that are needed and used to run Windows, which is how we are able to run this entire program that we're looking at. So everything is in here, user profiles and etc. Now, when you first open up File Explorer, it's going to bring you to this quick access menu where it gives you different folders to access, desktop folders, your downloads, documents, pictures, music, videos, commonly used folders, and whatnot. So over here on the left, you can also see that we have access to a lot of these same things: desktop, downloads, documents, pictures, My Healthy Merch folder, music, Rico's port, etc., etc., etc. So it's put together very well in a way that is easy for you to access things that you're typically going to need. It's not very common you're ever going to need to access the C drive directly in File Explorer and pull up folders and files, but from time to time it may be necessary. If you're a nerd like me, then you kind of do it pretty often because you're doing things that require you to be in here. But for the average user, that's not necessarily the case. Now, something else I want to point out is on the left over here, if you look down, you're going to see a This PC icon. If you click This PC, it's going to bring you to a similar window. But this window, if you remember, if you're familiar with Windows 7 and prior, this PC was known as My Computer. My Computer, when you clicked on My Computer on those older operating systems, brought you to this screen where it brought you to these shortcuts for your desktop, documents, music, downloads, etc. And it showed you your devices and drives. Now, under devices and drives, you can see I have one drive. It's my C drive. That's your main hard drive. If I have a secondary hard drive installed, it will be listed here. Typically is a D or an E drive instead of the C. Now, you also have, if you also have like a USB drive plugged in, it will show up. Or an optical drive, like a DVD drive or a Blu-ray player drive plugged in. It will also show up down here. So all your drives are going to show up here. But you can see here, like I said, on mine, I've just got literally the one drive. It's a laptop. There's no optical drives. I don't have any flash drives plugged in. Nothing. So you can see here that this is basically the same thing as the old My Computer icon. Now, if you want to create an ease of access to get here, if you're familiar with this and you like this, you can literally come down to this PC over here on the left, click, hold, and drag, and create a link on your desktop so that you can access that specific location menu anytime. You can also access it, of course, as like we did before, through File Explorer, and it will bring you here to the quick access and then this PC. But quick access is nice because it shows you recent files you've opened plus all your folders. Since it's not going to be very often you have to hit your C drive or anything else, unless you have other drives you need to access, like a flash drive you have plugged in or that secondary hard drive. It really just depends on the user and how you have your computer set up and what you're doing. But those are both there. But it is kind of nice to have a This PC shortcut, especially if you're used to having the My Computer icon on your desktop. I kind of think it's silly that in Windows 10 and 11 they don't give you a This PC shortcut here. But, at least they've made it easy to make one. So you can make yourself one and put it there. So we've covered a few things here already. Let's talk about how to move files and folders around. So I don't have a lot of files and folders on this computer, but I have enough that we can play with, and if I need to, I'll make a quick one. But you can see I'm making videos on this one, so you can see I have videos here that I've made, been playing with. These are some files, and the difference that this is really important to understand or to think about this as is File Explorer is literally like a filing cabinet in an office. It's literally got the folders, and inside the folders you have your files. Okay? Literally just like a filing cabinet. And just like a filing cabinet, you can pull up any of these files anytime to view them, or you can throw them away by deleting them. And it's really pretty easy to use. They've changed some of the menus a little bit in Windows 11, but let's go ahead and go over that. So as you can see here, I'm in my videos folder, and I've got these files, these videos. Now, if I want to view it, I just double click on it to pull it up. If I want to manipulate or change this, I can use the right click button just once. and it's going to bring me up a menu bar. And in this menu, you have different options. You can show more options. You can share it over Skype if you have Skype. View the properties, etc., etc. Now, these are probably going to be the most commonly used ones you're going to use up here. These are new to Windows 11, how they've shown these icons. If you click on Show More Options, it's going to give you the old school menu that we used to have in all the previous versions of Windows 10 with cut and copy here and etc. and delete. But once you get used to this, it really works just fine. You can see the trash can over here for delete. So if I don't want this folder anymore, or this file in this folder, I just click delete, and away it goes. It's gone. Okay? Now, it put it in my recycling bin. So I can always get it back if I need to, but I don't want it. So that's how you delete a file. Now, let's say I want to move this file somewhere else. Okay? There's a variety of different ways to do that. I can either right-click on it, come over to Copy, click Copy, go to the location that I want to move the file to. In this case, let's say I want to move it over here to Pictures. I can click on Pictures, and then I can right-click anywhere in the empty space, and I can come over here and click on Paste. And now it's going to create a copy of that file over here. Now, since it created a copy, I'm going to have that in two locations now. I've got that over here, and I've got it in Pictures. Okay? Now, if I don't want to create a copy of it, I'm going to go and delete this. I can actually just move it. And there's two different ways of just specifically to move it. So let's take this one. And something else I'm going to show you in the meantime so we can track this easier is I'm going to right-click on this and we're going to rename this file. So I'm going to come down to Show More Options. I'm going to click on Rename. And I'm going to call this Video 1. And we'll rename this one too. We'll call it Video 2. Just so we have some files to play with. This one right here isn't show yet fully because I'm actually recording this video right now. So that one's not showing up fully yet. It's not previewable or not viewable. And it doesn't have a preview either. So let's take Video 1 and let's say I want to move it to Pictures. Okay, I can either click, hold, and drag, and you can see it kind of shows a line and highlights where we're at with where we're moving it. Now, if you want to move it into the file Pictures, I want to make sure it's just hovering over it to where it shows how it's highlighted. And you can see it says Move to Pictures just below it. So I can click, drag, and let go, and now it's in here. And it's been removed from here. I moved it. I didn't copy it. Okay? So let's say I did that on accident. I can go back to Pictures, click, hold, drag, bring it over till it highlights over videos, and let go, and it will come back. Now, there's another way to do that. I can click on it, make sure it's highlighted, or if you don't have to do that, but I can right-click on it, and I can do a cut. So now if I click cut, it's going to show it like faded out, meaning, hey, you've got this cut, ready to move it somewhere. Now we can go into Pictures, right-click in the white space, and I can go paste. Just like copy and paste, but it's a cut and paste. So you actually cut it out. Now it's no longer in videos. I moved it over. I hope that makes sense. So let's say I want to move it back, right-click, we're going to cut, come back to videos, right-click, paste. And now it's back. So those are some different ways to move your files around from folder to folder. But let's get a little more technical. And what I mean by that is, let's say I need to move this to a specific file, but I don't see it, or let's say I need to move this video to a specific folder, but I don't see the location over here on the left. Well, this PC is going to be really important at this point. Because if you drop down the little arrow here for this PC, you can see on the left here, I have all these different options. And we're going to go ahead and move this over. if you see here with my mouse, I can move this right here to the edge of this and get a little double-sided arrow. It's very, very tricky. You have to have it right in the exact spot, but I can click and drag this over and give myself some more space. And we're going to open this window up a little bit this way. Now you can see I've got the local C here. Now I can click on the arrow here and also bring that down. Okay, and I can open up my user profile, and I can open up this HM laptop and see that user profile, and there's lots of different folders available here. So you can click and drag and move these to any of these that you want. So if there's one not showing up here in your quick access or anywhere else, you can always find the folders that you've created or that you have available on your C drive. Now let's say, for example, I want to create my own folder on my C drive, just in the root directory. Okay, the root directory meaning I clicked on C and it brings me right to the first location on the disk C. Now we're going to create a new folder. The easiest way to create a new folder is, there used to be a way up here in Windows 10 where you could just click on create new folder up here in this area, but over here you can see now it's on the left. So if I click on new folder, it'll give me a spot here and it says new folder highlighted because it's waiting for you to give it a name. So let's call this one test folder. Hit enter. There's my new folder that I just created. Now there is another way to make a folder. If I right click in the white area here, click on show more options, I can highlight over new and folder and do the same thing. But the fewer clicks the better. So just new folder and away you go. So I have my new folder, but let's say I'm in videos and I have this video 1 and I need to move it to that test folder. But that test folder isn't showing up right here. So I can open up C, scroll down. Whoop, it still has this open here. We're going to close all this down so just C is open. And you can see in here we have our test folder that we just created. Now I can just click on this and drag this over till it highlights over test folder. See that? Now you got to be careful, because if I hold this over one of those with an arrow on it, it's going to start opening things and moving things around. Not moving things around, it's going to start opening options because it thinks you want to use that. So it can be really tricky. So you want to be sure that you hold it over the exact file you want if you're going to move it in this way. So you want to click it, bring the highlight over test folder, and release it. Now it's in test folder. Okay, now if I don't want it in test folder, or let's say I don't want to move it that way because it is kind of tricky sometimes, you can always use that cut and paste feature like I showed you before. So if I'm in videos, right click on it, cut, go to test folder, right click in the white area, and paste it, and it will move it that way as well. That's the recommended way. Now, also I'm going to teach you a little trick, a little shortcut. If I right click on this folder, yes, I have these options here for clicking. I can also just click on this and hit on the keyboard Control X. If I hit Control on my keyboard and while holding Control also hit X and then let go, it will put it into that cut mode. And then I can go to where I want to move it and then hit Control V and it will paste it. So the keyboard shortcuts, Control X will cut it and Control V will repaste it. Does that make sense? I hope so. If you have a question about that, shoot me a comment down below. The shortcut for copy is Control C. So if I hit Control C, test folder over here, Control V, it will also move it. But not only does it move it, it copied it, so I have that here and there. The copy feature is really mostly important when you're creating a backup of a file that you want on like a USB drive, totally separate drive. I hope all this makes sense so far. This is the basic information on how to move files around in your different folders, how to navigate your folders on the left, how to see your local disk C, and etc. and etc. I also showed you how to rename files, which can be very important, especially if you're creating content like I am, or you create a new file and you need to rename it to keep things organized or know what it is you're doing, because a lot of programs will just automatically give a file a name. So being able to rename that file is very important. Knowing how to move them around, knowing how to navigate around your computer and all the different files in your computer, very important to know how to do all that. So while we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at, we're going to go to this PC, and you can see our local disk C. Now if I double click on local disk C, let's specifically talk about the users folder. In the users folder, you're going to have a list of all the different users on your computer. So if you have 3 different people who use this computer with 3 different profiles, it's going to show all those profiles here. On mine, I only have 1. It's always going to show a public directory as well, but you really don't need to pay much attention to that. So if I click on this user, you can see a lot of these exact same folders as you can see from Quick Access. The Quick Access is literally just a shortcut to where we are right now in the C drive. So I can access my documents from here, my downloads, and everything else just like you could from over here in the quick menu or the quick access, or from like in this PC. But this is where they actually are on the hard drive. They're on your local disk C, which is your hard drive, under the user folder, under your username folder, stored inside of here. And you can access different things in here. So I hope that makes sense, how things are actually stored on the hard drive and how all these icons everywhere else are really just shortcuts. For example, in a little more detail, if I go back to the root directory of the C drive, you can see that I have a program files and a program files 86. This is where all the program files are installed for all the programs that you have installed. So like I have this AnaRip program or shortcut over here. I'm in the program files. This is where that program's files are stored on the hard drive. So they're stored in this program files under this Anajet folder and AnaRip. This is where all the files are for that program. This is just a shortcut to right here, to when we're running the program from right here. So very important to know just that things are actually in locations in your File Explorer. If you get a virus and stuff or malware, a lot of times they'll embed themselves into the Windows directory and other program files or in hidden locations, but this is where they're typically going to be. Hopefully you don't get any viruses. You can hopefully keep your computer clean and are not downloading anything that'll get you into trouble. But the main idea here is I wanted to show you how File Explorer works, how you have access to different folders and files from different locations and places, the importance of understanding your hard drive and where things are located in the hard drive, and how everything else really is just a shortcut to what's installed onto that C hard drive. The C hard drive is just where they're actually stored.
That concludes lesson 3. Let's move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to my lesson 4 video in my How to Use a Computer with Windows 11 for Beginners series. Today I'm going to be going over some personalization information and how to help manage your computer regarding the power settings. Now, your power settings are very important. The personalization, not as important, but it's nice to have your computer look the way you like and to be able to personalize it to you to really give you that good vibe that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So for personalization settings, or for manipulating the way the computer looks to more of a pleasing look for you, you want to start off by going to the settings program, which you can get to by going to Start and then up to Settings, or you can go to Search and just type Settings, and that will bring that up. Once you are in Settings, you'll see over here on the left pane there is a personalization button or tab or section that you can click on. Now within the personalization area, there's a lot of different things really that you can do, and it's very customizable. Now, as you can see here, we have different themes that Windows has pre-built in. I can click on any of these themes to apply it, and you can see the preview of it up here. And also, as you'll notice, the background picture is changing as well. So you can see the different colors that are being applied. You can change to a theme that really changes it a lot. You can see here now everything's kind of that really dark gray color on my menu. Also in the start menu, you've got kind of this pinkish salmon tone there. There's some transparency. You can see kind of behind that window a little bit. So there's a number of different options here that come pre-built into Windows, which is kind of nice. And some of these are honestly pretty cool. They're very pretty. Now, if a person doesn't want to change the entire theme, let's say you like the theme, but you just want a different background picture, you can actually come down here to background and select a different background picture. So nothing changes except for that desktop background. But you don't have to use this background. You can use pretty much whatever background that you want. So like I said, you have these other pre-built in themes, which also come with these different images that you can use. You can also choose a different picture of your own. If you have a picture that you have taken and you've uploaded onto your computer, or if you have downloaded a different picture that you want to use, you can actually click on Browse Photos, and it will take you to your Pictures library under this PC and Pictures, your Pictures folder. And if you have a different picture that you want to use, you can select that. And now you can see it's using one that wasn't shown in the list. So there you can see it's different. So changing your background really is a personal thing. My daughter, she likes to draw pictures in Paint 3D and set her own pictures to her background even. So it is very customizable. So let's take a look here. Now this picture, this one, just to verify, this one did not come with Windows. This is one I grabbed off of a website for sampling in this video. And the reason I grabbed that picture, and also this picture here, these are both pictures I grabbed to sample, is you don't have to have a static background picture. You can actually come over here and where it says personalize your background, where it says picture, you can do a couple of different things. I've got slideshow available. If I click on slideshow, I can choose a picture album for a slideshow. So basically you just browse to a folder, and in the folder, it will rotate those pictures and display them as your background. It'll rotate them. So over the period of right now it's set to every 30 minutes. I can set that to 1 minute. Every 1 minute it'll change that background picture. And so on. You can shuffle the picture order, so it's not doing them just in order that they are in the folder. And that can be kind of cool. You can, down here it says let slideshow run even if I'm on battery power. So that will draw a little bit more battery power to run the slideshow. Very, very, very small amount. But you can let it run even if I'm on battery. You can turn that on or off. And choose fit for your desktop image. This is important because sometimes if you have an image that doesn't fit the screen exactly, you can modify it here to make it fit how you like. So you can choose an album, modify it, etc., etc. So that's for your background desktop image. Now let's go back to the original personalization area. And now here you can see you've also got, yes, you've got your background, but you can modify your own theme however you like. So let's say I like what I have right now, but I want to just change, oh, see, a minute went by and it changed that. I left on the slideshow, so now it switched to the other picture that's in that folder. Now, if I go to colors, I can actually modify the colors that I'm using with my current desktop background. So I'm basically making my own theme. Like I say, I want kind of this steel blue looking color. I can use that instead. And you can see here the menus it shows differently, and you're going to see reflected everywhere else. So that's kind of neat. You can modify your own theme basically. So let's go ahead and go back. You can see with the themes, you can actually create your own and also download pre-made themes. You can grab themes usually from the Microsoft Store. For example, if I go to the Start menu, I go to the Store, and let's look up desktop themes. Look, I already pulled this up. You can see here, there's free different themes that you can download and use. Like, let's grab this one here, Mountain Dwellings. Oh, that's right, I have to log in. You have to have an account logged in. I don't log in on this desktop or on this laptop using an account. I just use this laptop in my shop. But you can download this. You should have your account logged in, and you just apply it. So, pretty awesome. You can get your own themes. It's kind of neat that they've made it so personalizable. Now let's go back. You can also change your lock screen. The lock screen is that first screen that when you first pull up your computer, it shows you the time and it will give you your login password if you require a password for login. You can change your lock screen as well. So I can change it to a picture. Let's say I want this to be my lock screen picture. Then that is now my lock screen picture. That's already applied. So you can also do the same thing with your lock screen. And you can also browse photos and select a different one that you have already downloaded. So that is personalizable as well. Now down here you kind of get into more detailed items that are for different applications, like you have your touchscreen keyboard, if you have a touch screen, if you want to modify your start menu to show recently added apps, you can turn that off. Show most used apps on. I actually like to have that on. Show recently opened items in start. So you can modify your start menu here just by looking through there. We won't go into great detail on the rest of it. The biggest thing I wanted to cover was the fact that you can change your colors, you can change your background image, you can create slideshows, you can grab different themes and backgrounds, and etc. So that covers a lot of the personalization. Now we're going to go into the screensaver. Okay, screensaver, I don't know if you're familiar with the screensaver or not, but a screensaver is something that, well, let's just show you. Now, one thing that's important to understand is screensaver is actually not in settings. I have to do a search, and if I click on change screensaver, as you can see there, it brings up a different menu that's not a part of the settings. The screensaver is usually off by default, and the reason why is because screensavers were important back in the day when we had those big CRT monitors, those box monitors, before we had these flat screens, the LCDs. Those CRT monitors, actually, if you had an image just stagnant on the computer for a long period of time, would actually burn the image into the screen. We don't have that problem anymore, so screensavers are no longer necessary, but they can be kind of fun. If you want a screensaver, you can actually modify it and change it to however you want. For example, they give you a few built into Windows, not a lot, but let's say I do bubbles, and then you can see in this little preview here, and I can preview it full preview. You can see the bubbles bouncing across the screen. Then what happens is that screensaver will turn on and activate over a certain amount of time, however you designate it. I have mine set to 1 minute, looks like by default or whatever, but you can change that to however long, and you can change which one you're using. Photos would be like that slideshow. So if I click photos, I can go to settings. I can browse which folder is being used. It defaults to the pictures directory, the slideshow speed, etc., there. So this is the screensaver area. Now, like I said, a screensaver is not necessary. It's totally up to you if it's something you want to have just kind of for fun, since they're no longer needed. Let's look at power management. Okay, now that I'm in screensaver, I see there's a change power settings. I'm not going to go here yet. I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to come over to System on the left. And once I have System pulled up, you're going to see an area here for power and battery. Now I'm on a laptop. A desktop is not going to have any battery functions. If you're on a laptop, then you're going to want to pay attention to this part. If you have a laptop, just understand that Windows really has been optimized to try to help you with your battery life. Whereas a desktop, it doesn't matter. But you're still going to want to manage your power settings with the desktop so your computer's just not running all the time. And there's a lot of different things you can do. So let's look here on the power and battery section. Right now you can see it says that my screen is using more battery than usual because brightness is set to high. I could lower the brightness, but I like my brightness high, so I keep it cranked up. Now, I hardly ever use this laptop on battery. It's almost always plugged in. But if I wanted to help conserve battery life, I could lower the brightness. I also have mine set to never sleep. I only turn this laptop on when I'm using it. When I'm not using it, I just turn it right back off. It's a shop laptop. I use it to print pictures on my shirt printers, so I don't need it on hardly ever. Just when I work for a few hours a day, printing shirts. But you typically are going to want to have your device be able to sleep. Whoops. I'll have to go change that. Sleep mode is actually really important because if you don't have sleep mode, your hard drive and everything is just going to be running all the time, and it's going to be hot all the time. Now here you can see power. Under power, we have screen and sleep. Okay, I can click this, and it's going to bring down a menu if it's not already open for you, which gives you different options. In these options, you've got on battery power, turn off my screensaver, or turn off my screen after X amount of time. Now, turning off the screen literally just turns off the screen. That's all it does. The computer will still be running. When plugged in, turn off my screen after X amount of time. On battery power, put my device to sleep after X amount of time. When plugged in, put my device to sleep after X amount of time. Now, mine, I'm going to turn off my sleep. I don't want mine to ever go to sleep. And I'm going to turn this to never. I don't want mine to go to sleep. I will turn it off when I'm done with it. This is very much up to you. So you can see here you've got some settings that you can play with. Now, down here you've got a battery saver mode. It turns on when it's at 20% battery. Gives you some battery usage statistics here, and etc., etc. Okay, but there are more power settings to look at besides just what they give you here in the settings area. If I come down to search, you're going to want to type control panel. You'll see that it will show you an app for control panel. Open that up. Okay, follow along. So open up your control panel. And now we're going to go to System and Security. Under System and Security, you can see there's a Power Options menu. Go ahead and click on the Power Options menu. In here, you can also play with your power settings. There's a couple of big things here I find can be very important depending on what you're doing. For example, over here you can choose what the power buttons do on the computer. If I push the power button, what's it going to do? Is it going to shut the computer down? Is it going to do nothing? Is it going to put it to sleep or hibernate? Just turn off the display? So you can really modify that here. Now, some laptops will have a sleep button. So obviously you can tell it to go to sleep if you hit the sleep button. Here's what I find very important. When I close the lid to the laptop, what do you do? Should I have it shut down or sleep or do nothing? I have mine set to do nothing because I will actually plug this specific laptop into my TV and we'll watch movies from the laptop on the TV. We'll plug it in HDMI. But we don't want the screen open while we're watching the movie. We want it to be closed so we only have the light from the TV in the room. We don't want the light from the laptop. So we have it set to do nothing. So when we can close the lid, but still it'll play the movie. I hope that makes sense. So let's go ahead and go click the back button, go back to power options. You can change what the power buttons do, choose what closing the lid does, so just another option there. But let's take a look at our selected plan. Balanced, recommended. We're going to click on change plan settings. This gives us a few more options, just like where it gave us options in the other settings menu. So, turn off the display after so much time when it's on battery or plugged in. Put it to sleep, same thing. Just a different menu for the same stuff. But there is something that you need to know about if you do not want your computer to ever go to sleep. If I click on Change Advanced Power Settings, you can see there's a hard disk section here. This says turn off hard disk after X amount of time. Okay, I don't want mine ever to turn the hard disk off. And I don't want it to do it when it's on battery or plugged in. If the hard disk turns off, it's basically going into sleep or hibernation. If you don't check this off here, it can conflict with the other areas and still turn off even if you have it set to not go to sleep. I have run into that problem myself. So if you don't want your computer to ever go asleep, just be sure to come to this spot and shut that off. Or, tell it to be never and 0, which you can also click never in here, but it always just defaults back to 0 after you leave. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And that covers the power settings. So I hope the power settings make sense. I hope we went over that well enough. Just remember that you have options under the control panel and system security, power options, as well as you have options in the settings under power and battery.
That concludes lesson 4. Let's move on.
This video is lesson 5 in my How to Use a Computer with Windows 11 for Beginners series. In this video, we're going to cover the topics of how to make sticky notes, how to uninstall a program, and how to use Task Manager. Now, I went ahead and made this little sticky note just so you guys can see my sticky note, and I'm going to show you how I made this. Now, sticky notes can be really useful if you're someone who is really busy and needs to take notes all the time. I myself am always writing down to-do lists, and I will put them on my computer sometimes for to-dos for my business. And so they can be really, really useful. And it's really good to type things out and get it out of your head, honestly, and put it on a sticky note so you can come to it later. You don't have to worry about it. You know you're going to see it, especially if you're on your computer a lot for whatever reason, if it's your work or hobby or whatever it is you do. So using sticky notes can be a very powerful thing for you in your life. So if you want to know how to use sticky notes, you're in the right video. Now, to use sticky notes, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can just go to Start, All Apps, scroll down to sticky notes, and like everything else I've showed you before in the earlier lessons, you can make shortcuts. Or if you don't want to go that way, you can just type sticky notes in search, and it will come up. Okay, now when you first open up sticky notes, it's going to show up like this. And you can make your new note, and it'll show up over here, and you can close it down here. Once you have one here, you can also add a new sticky note by clicking the new note here and make another to-do list like take a bath, drink a Pepsi, go to gym. So I'm just writing stuff down. Anyway, you see how that works. Now it's kind of cool because you can also change the color of the note to categorize them. So let's say you're doing personal things, so you make it one color, and you're doing a YouTube video and you're doing notes, so use it for another color, and you make another one that is related to your business, and you can make that a different color. So you can change the color of your sticky notes, and they just kind of chill out over here. So it's kind of nice. And if I close these all down, they come back when I open up sticky notes. So if we go back to sticky notes, there's my note back. Okay, looks like it didn't hold the color. That's interesting. But regardless, you see I still have my sticky note. So these are nice to nice to have around if you're a really busy person and need to make notes. And I don't see a lot of people use sticky notes, but a lot of people that I've shown sticky notes really like it. I just don't think a lot of people know about it, so you guys now know about it. Okay, so item number 2, let's talk about programs and how to uninstall programs. Now, in an earlier lesson, I did show you an area where you can manage your programs, but we're going to be specific today on how to uninstall these programs that you don't want on your computer anymore. If you go to your Start menu, okay, obviously we know we can go to All Apps and see all the apps, okay, but we can't manage them from here. Now, if I go to Settings, I can go to my apps in Settings, this app section, Sorry, I got distracted for a second because I see I have this update done, ready to go. But we can see, we can click on apps, and we can see here we've got apps and features. And if I click on apps and features, I can come down and it shows an app list of all the apps installed on my computer. And I can manage them here. Now, I can click on it, it won't do anything, okay? I have to actually come over here to these little 3 dots to manage it. I can modify it, which will pull up its own installer usually to modify, or uninstall it, which typically will typically bring up its own installer as well. So let's say I don't want Adobe Express. I click on those 3 dots, uninstall. Okay, that's fine. Oh, it looks like it's installing it via Windows. This one didn't have a separate installer. Boom, done. It's gone. Now, I have had some apps before not show up in that list that are installed. If for some reason you can't see an app that you know you have installed and it doesn't show up, you're going to want to go to Control Panel. So go to Search, type Control Panel. And in Control Panel, you see at the bottom down here, you have Uninstall a Program. If you click on this, it's going to bring up the old style program manager. And everything should be listed in here. But there's just another way you can do it. And here you can actually click on it, unlike the other one. You don't have the 3 dots. You click on whatever program it is, and you can click on uninstall, and that will get rid of it. So there's another way to uninstall a program. Some programs can be kind of tricky, and you need a third-party uninstaller to fully remove it if it's like malware and whatnot. But we're not going to get into that in this video. Just know that you can manage your programs from these 2 different areas. Now, a third way to get to it, which was my favorite way for a long time, was just right-clicking on the Start menu instead of left-clicking, to bring up the menu. If you right-click, it brings up this menu, and at the very top, you can click Apps and Features, and it'll take you straight to the Settings area that I showed you the first time. So that's just kind of a quick, fast, and easy way to get to it. I really like right-clicking on the Start menu because there's a lot of options in here that you can use. You can access your power options, system settings, device manager, settings, and etc. So just a good way to know how to do it. So there's that option there to also get to the uninstall programs menu. The last thing I want to show you is how to use the task manager. And knowing the task manager is really important, especially if you're ever having to troubleshoot your PC or look at what's going on or just to gain some information. So to access the task manager, you can right click here as well on the Start menu and come to Task Manager. Okay, your Task Manager is exactly what it says it is. It manages tasks. Okay, sorry, I just clicked up here on the maximize. You don't have to maximize it. Okay, now you can see it's showing programs that are running right now. I've got my recording software and the sticky notes open. I can click on more details, and it's going to pull up everything running in the computer right now. Look at this huge list. All this stuff's running in the background, making it so Windows can run and all the programs I have so that they can run. Okay, everything's listed here. So this is important to note because you can see here at the top how much of my processor power is being used up. How much of my random access memory is being used in this moment. 56%. Okay, very, very good stuff to know. If your computer's running really slow, you can always come to your task manager and go, what is up? And one of these might be maxed out. If one of these are maxed out, you got a problem. You might need to close some things. Sometimes I have to come to task manager because I'll have a program, for example, this Android program, every once in a great while, it'll freeze up. And I can't close the program. So I got to open task manager, find the program in the list here. Okay, you find it, you click on it, and you can click on End Task. And Windows will shut the program down. Typically, if Windows can't shut it down, you're probably having a major problem. You might have to reboot your computer and address some other issues. But most of the time, you can come to your task manager, right-click on it, End Task, or just left-click on it and End Task. So task manager, it's good. It's telling you everything that's running in the background. Fewer details, it just shows you the main programs running. More details shows you all of it. Okay, that's this first tab up here on the top left. We've got a multiplicity of tabs here along the top. The next tab is your Performance tab. This also gives you information on what's going on. You can see how much of my processor is being used up all the time. You can see it's fluctuating as the processor is working. It's kind of like lungs, breathe in, breathe out. Your memory, what your hard disk is doing at the moment, etc., etc. And down here, it gives you more information as well. You can see here, this is a quad-core processor that I'm running. It's got hyper-threading, it looks like, so it's looks like it's got 8. So you can get more information, deduce more information about your processor here and whatnot. So you can also click on memory, take a look at your RAM, and it'll tell you you're using, one slot on your motherboard. It's sewed in, which means it's laptop memory, the bus rate of your RAM, the available memory right now, what's in use, and etc. So really good information here, especially if you're troubleshooting and trying to figure out what's going on. You can look at app history. I honestly have never had to use app history, but maybe someday there'll be a reason to. Startup can be important because you may have programs in the background running when Windows starts that you don't want to run. For example, let's say Spotify is enabled, but I don't want it running all the time. I just want it to run when I tell it to run. I can disable that if it was enabled. Same goes for anything. So you might have programs that are popping up when you turn the computer on all the time, and they might be programs that you do want to use, but you don't want it to be running all the time. You just disable it from startup, and when you want to use it, you just go to the program and run it, and it will come up. If you get a lot of things running in the background, it can use up memory and processing speed, causing more processes to run, which can slow your computer down. So you usually want to keep your startup programs kind of limited as much as possible. But some of these you have to have running. You don't have to have, certain things, but some of these, like if you have a driver for your sound card or video drivers that need to be running, you want to keep those things in check. Windows security notifications, you're probably going to want to keep that. It's got a low impact. It's not doing much in the background. So good things. This tells you what's going on, what users logged in, and what's going on here. Extra details, services that are running, which you'll probably never need to get into. This will be more of a tech-related area. But I feel like average users do need to understand the performance, their hardware, your startup programs, and also your processes, and knowing how to close a process when something happens, because we always get there. We have a program that freezes up and it won't shut down, so you can go to Task Manager and shut it down and reboot your computer if needed to try to reboot the program. Anyways, that is how to use the Task Manager, how to uninstall programs, and how to make sticky notes.
And that concludes Lesson 5.
Today, I'm going to be showing you guys Lesson 6 in my How to Use a Computer with Windows 11 for Beginners series. And in this lesson, we're just going to cover some real basic things on how to use the internet, how to browse the web. There is so much that has changed from when I was young. It's actually a lot easier than it used to be, but there are a couple of different things that I want to show you and some basics that I think are really important. The first thing I want to talk about are web browsers. On my computer, you can see two icons here, okay? I've got Microsoft Edge and I've got Google Chrome. These are web browsers. A web browser is basically a program that allows you to access the content on the internet. Okay, so all the information on the internet is out there. The way you get to look at all that content is through a web browser. There are, like I said, there's multiple different web browsers. Microsoft Edge is the one that comes built in with Windows. It used to be Internet Explorer. I don't think they're going to have it on Windows. Yeah, I don't think they even have it in Windows 11. Internet Explorer was the older one on the older versions of Windows. They had to slowly remove it over time. It wasn't something they were able to do just instantly because so many people were used to it. Looks like I would assume they're probably fully pushed over to Microsoft Edge by now. Google has their own web browser here called Google Chrome. There's another one web browser called Mozilla Firefox. There's another one called Opera. Apple uses Safari. At least I believe they still use Safari. Regardless, it doesn't matter which one you use, as long as you find one that you like, that works for you. I personally like Google Chrome the best. I used to use Firefox the most, but my experience was it was starting to get more buggy over time, and it just didn't seem as stable and as fast as Google Chrome. Now that's been a number of years ago since I transitioned from Firefox to Chrome, so Firefox could be a lot better by now. but I'm just used to Google Chrome, so that's what I use. But I'm going to show you both of these browsers. So let's open up Microsoft Edge. Now, if you don't have icons on your desktop here, shortcuts, you can find it typically, Microsoft Edge especially, in your start menu. It's usually going to be pinned here in your start menu somewhere. I can see mine here. If not, of course, you can always go to All Apps and find it in All Apps. If you don't have it pinned, and you want to have it pinned on your taskbar down here, like you can see I have the Chrome icon, you can right click on it and pin it to taskbar, or I can click and drag and create my shortcut on my desktop. So whatever works for you. If you have a new computer that you just bought, you will not have Google Chrome usually. It's usually just going to have the Edge browser. So you would have to download Google Chrome and install it. So let's first take a look at Microsoft Edge. Okay, I just opened up the program. Now, I never use Edge, so there's going to be very little here that's personalized. Now, it has memorized some of my search data from using Google Chrome and put it in here, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty bare. But there's still a lot here I can show you. And you can use Edge if you want. It's fine. It works okay. Most IT personnel don't like to use it. They use Google Chrome or Firefox or Opera, like I was saying earlier. But you can use it. It does work fine. Now, with Edge, it's very similar to the other browsers. They've all gotten very similar in look and feel. I can browse the web. Now, I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, you always had those commercials that were like, go to www.whatever.com. And you had to punch the website in to go there. Well, they've made it a lot easier to use. Granted, the .com signifies the www.whatever the website is .com signifies exactly, that's the address that it is. So it's kind of like a phone number. So if you want to call somebody, you got to punch in their phone number. You want to go to their house, you have to know their address. You know, if you're using GPS, got to punch the address into GPS and you can make it to their house. Kind of similar to the internet. If I want to go to a certain website, like let's say I want to go to Etsy.com, I have to come up here into this address bar and actually type Etsy.com. That will bring me to that website. Now, if I go up here, I see a lot of people, they don't ever type the .com, they just search Etsy. They don't hit .com. If I don't hit .com, it's just going to use search. It's going to use a search engine. Okay, now I'll get into more on that in just a minute, but first I want to cover something. As you can see here on my main page, I can search the web right here as well. Up here is specifically the address bar. Down here is your web, not your search engine. Now Edge, Microsoft Edge uses Bing for its search engine. Okay, Microsoft Bing. Now, if you want to go to a specific website, you go up here, you type Etsy.com. You type the exact web address. If I want to go to Blizzard.com, Blizzard.com. It's a gaming website. Okay? It will take you straight to their website. It's not going to give you search results. It will take you straight to the website. If I just type Blizzard, I could get a variety of things. Okay, it does take me straight to Blizzard Entertainment is the first search. But, I mean, if you type something that's related to other things, you could get other things that you're not looking for. Like Blizzard, it could bring up pictures of blizzards. Or, you know, like here we go. If I go to images, you can see all these Blizzard pictures. It's not pictures of Blizzard. There's a few here, Blizzard Entertainment. I hope that makes sense, though. So you can just search for something, or if you know the exact address, you punch in the exact address and it will take you there. Now, up here, you can see I have different tabs. Up here, these are called tabs. And I can have multiple tabs open. If I click this plus button, it opens up new tabs. These are very handy. You will probably be using tabs. So let's say I want to be on multiple websites at the same time. I can have all those open in different tabs. Okay? So I can have my email open in one, a search engine open one, and 2 other websites I need to reference at the same time. I have a lot of tabs usually open on my main PC because I have a lot of different websites that I have to access on a consistent basis. Just depending on who you are and what you're looking at, this will change over time what you're doing. but it's important to know about your tabs. You can have multiple tabs open, but if you have too many tabs open, it will start to eat at your random access memory and can slow your computer down. So keep that in mind. So you have your tabs, you have your address bar up here if you know the exact address. You've got search down here. Now I don't know if Bing does it. No, it doesn't do it. I believe Google Chrome, we'll show you later, but you can see here, I typed Etsy.com in the search. It does not take me straight to Etsy's website. It does a search for Etsy.com because it's not the address bar. It's the search engine. Okay? This is the search the web. This is the address bar. I can either search from here, just like I can from down there, or I can punch in the actual address, and it will take me there. If I punch in Etsy.com in the search engine, it will not take me to the exact address. It will do a search and show you search results instead of the exact address. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions on this, please shoot me a comment down below. So that's the basics of how to start using the internet. You need to know web addresses and how to search. Now, if you want to favorite a website, like let's say I want to favorite my own YouTube channel. So let's say I go to Blissful Techno Health. Okay, I can go to my page. It's gonna make some noise. I'll pause that. I can save this. If you're like, yeah, I love Blissful Techno Health, I'm going to watch every video that he has. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to hit the bell so I see his notifications. And I'm going to like every video and comment how awesome his channel is. Okay? I mean, you can do that if you want. Regardless, you can see over here, I've got an arrow. Or I'm sorry, a star, not an arrow. If I click this star, it adds it to your favorites. So you can come to it later. Makes it easier to come to. So I can click on favorites and I can save it to my favorites bar or other favorites. You can create other folders, but I can save that here. I can say yes, done. And now if I close that, I have it favorited, but I can access it easily without having to type it in, the exact address. I can click on these three dots over here. It brings up the menu for Edge. And I can come to favorites, click on that. And here you can see under favorites bar, Blissful Techno Health. Favorites is really handy. I have found it very handy for websites I need to use on a regular basis that have really long, complicated website addresses. Or if you have like a variety, like for me, I have suppliers that I use to order t-shirts, and I have like 9 or 10 different suppliers that I use. I can go to favorites and I can see all of my suppliers, and I can just click on which one I want to look at. So favorites is very handy. You can see that there. You can see your browsing history. If I come on the menu here, I can come down to history and see that you have your search history. You can see what I've been doing here. That way you can go back, like let's say, and this has happened to me all the time. I'll accidentally close down a window and I didn't mean to, and I was searching up something, researching something, and I'm like, crap, what was that website? I don't remember what the URL was or what the website was even called. I can come back to search history and go, oh, there it is, bam. So search history could be nice. You've got different extensions. I'm not going to go into that, but you can go play with extensions and apps, etc., etc. Downloads. If you click on downloads, that will give you a list of all the downloads that you have downloaded throughout time, whatever you've got downloaded. So you can click on downloads and do that there. That's the basic rundown of how to use Edge, okay? So it's pretty simple, straightforward, gives you a program to be able to access internet websites. Google Chrome, very similar. If I open up Google Chrome, you can see here, I've got the address bar, just like on Edge. I've got the search engine down here. It's the Google engine instead of the Bing engine. Now, down here you can see, on Google though, I can actually type a URL. Let's see if it does it. Etsy.com. Yeah, and it takes me straight to Etsy.com. So basically it's like having two address bars and search bars. They're basically the exact same thing. Now you can see down here it shows you recently visited websites or ones that you use commonly here. And it's also very similar for your favorites. You have the star over here, but instead of called favorites, they're called bookmarks. So let's say I want to bookmark my Etsy store. Click on bookmark, done. Okay, now I've bookmarked it. I can come to the 3 dots, just like Edge. I can come to bookmarks, and there it is right there. So it saves it under your bookmarks. So pretty easy to use, very intuitive, really. They've made it so much easier from when I was younger, when I was a kid, and searching things. I mean, it's grown so much, and the programs are so much faster and more intuitive. So pretty simple. That's how you use the internet. That's how you browse the web. I will show you under more tools though, or not, sorry, more tools, settings. So I didn't show you this in Edge because I don't use Edge a whole lot. But in Chrome, you want to be sure of one thing. If you go to settings, and you'll notice a lot of different things in here. You don't really need to play with any of these, but once in a while, this happens to my son all the time. He visits websites where this happens. I used to see this all the time with customers. It doesn't necessarily mean you're infected with malware, but a lot of times someone will visit a website that puts I don't want to call it malware. It integrates its own search engine. So instead of using Google Chrome, it uses something else. For example, on here you can see I've got a couple of weird ones. Okay, you've got the normal ones, Google, Bing, and Yahoo. We've probably all heard of these 3. But DuckDuckGo and I don't even know how to say this, Ecosia, I don't want these. So if you come to your search engine section, come over here, and you can see you've got search engine used in the address bar. So if I go to the address bar and I type search, for potatoes, and I'm searching for potatoes, I'm going to get information on potatoes, but it's using the Google search engine. Okay, that's what it's talking about. If I change it to Bing, it'll use Bing. So now if I go here, now it's on Bing. Okay, just like Edge. I don't want that though. I want Google. Now, I can manage these on the next bar down here. I can click on that bar and scroll down here, and you can see the different search engines that were in that list. I've got this one here. I don't want it. Go away. Delete it. Get out of my life. This one right here. I don't even know where these came from. I don't even hardly use this computer. Like I said before in my previous videos, this is a shop computer. I use this laptop for printing orders on my shirt printers. So I don't know where those came from. Regardless, they're there. And I want them gone. So you can remove them. So if you see anything weird, like I don't need Bing. I don't use Bing. Let's delete it. I never use Yahoo. All I need is Google. So this is something that is really important to know. If your search engine gets changed, and it's highly possible that it will, that happens a lot of time to people, you can come to search engine in your settings and clear those out here. That's kind of important to know. Just kind of an extra little tidbit. But you can see you've got your tabs up here just like Edge to manage. You've got, like I said, your favorites. You've got your downloads history. You've got your history, your website history as well. So you can go back there and find websites you used before in the past, and etc. So pretty basic, easy rundown. That's how you use the internet. I think the most important thing to share with you is just that URL versus a search. Knowing the website address. It really surprised me how many people I met where I'm like, hey, go to, Etsy.com or YouTube.com. It blows me away how many people just type YouTube. They don't type the .com, and they search, and then they go to YouTube. If you just type youtube.com, it's just going to take you to youtube.com. You don't have to search. And this can be very important because if I go to, I'm going to show you in the next video how to keep your computer clean. But there's this program called Super Anti-Spyware that's a free program you can use. If I just type Super Anti-Spyware, it comes up and it shows this. But if you have a different web browser, or if you have a program that's one of those other search engines, it might not show up first. Or if you mistype it and you accidentally type Super Ant Spyware because your keyboard doesn't work very well. Okay, thankfully this one came up, but you might get something else. And I've had people download the wrong thing, and they end up with viruses on their computer instead of cleaning the computer. So you just want to be sure you know exactly where you're going. Searching can be fine as long as you know you're going to the website you want. And how do you know? Well, if you see above the search result, it says the address superantispyware.com. Superantispyware.com. You know that's the website. Okay, just like YouTube. If I just search YouTube, you can see youtube.com. So you're going to youtube.com. You're not going to some hack website that's not real. But it is important to just know the address most of the time and just type in the address. Oh, look at that. The search here doesn't do it looks like. Once you get into the search here. Yeah, you can only do it from the main page here. But I hope that makes sense. So if you know the address, just punch it in.
That concludes lesson 6. Now let's move on to the final lesson.
This video is lesson 7 in my How to Use a Computer with Windows 11 for Beginners series. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to keep your computer clean from malware and just junk files that you don't need in your computer taking up memory and slowing it down. Now, there is a lot of malware or viruses on the internet nowadays. It's really easy to get a virus if you're not careful and you don't really know what you're doing, or if you get into places where you really shouldn't be. So I'm going to show you some of the built-in Windows features and how to keep it clean. And I'm also going to show you some other third-party programs that you can use to help keep your computer clean as well. Now, everything I'm going to show you today is free. They're all free programs. It's free software, things that you can use without spending any money. There are programs you can buy that do cost monthly fees or a one-time purchase for a license. I don't feel that they're really that necessary, but sometimes if a computer gets really infected and a person really needs to clean it up without formatting the whole hard drive and starting over, sometimes those can come in handy. So let's go ahead and take a look. For starters, in Windows 11, you actually have built-in security, okay? So it's called Windows Security, and it has its own antivirus integrated into the operating system. So you can access it typically just by doing a search. You can see, I've searched for mine. If you go to search, you can just type, security, and it should pop up with Windows Security Settings. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to bring up your settings menu. You're going to be highlighted here on privacy and security. You want to go ahead and either just open Windows Security or click on virus and threat protection. That's going to open up Windows Security. And you're going to see here that you actually have a tool that you can use. This is an antivirus that is built in with Windows 11. Now, it's honestly not that bad. It's not the best thing on the planet for sure, but I mean, it does work. I have removed on computers multiple viruses before using the built-in Windows Security. Granted, I have used better programs where they have found viruses that this has not, but it's a lot better than nothing. Now, you see here, I have my computer. It doesn't have much on it. It says no current threats. It looks like it automatically did a quick scan the other day, and no threats were found. The scan only lasted 48 seconds, so I don't know what it could find in that quick time. The quick scan is basically just going to search for commonly used areas where viruses and malware will put themselves. What you want to do periodically is not a quick scan, but you want to come down to Scan Options, and you're going to see you have a full scan option. You're going to want to run a full scan. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see Scan Now, and you can start that scan, and it will run a full scan. Now, it could take a while to do the full scan, depending on how many files are on your hard drive. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this scan for now, because I don't want to complete it. But you do want to run a full scan periodically to help kind of keep your computer clean. So this is the built-in free Windows protection. Obviously, you've got the Windows firewall and everything built in. But just know that that's here, and it is a tool that you do have at your disposal that you can use to help keep your computer clean. Now, if you want to buy an antivirus, you can, but I highly recommend never to buy a a virus security suite. You don't want a full protection suite. You just want an antivirus. A full security suite, they're highly invasive. They actually cause more problems than they help with. They're going to cause your computer to run slow. They might actually corrupt some of your programs and cause them not to run right. I've had this happen a lot. So I would recommend just sticking with an antivirus, not a full security suite. I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and close down Windows Security since you know that that's there now. And the next thing we're going to look at, if you're going to want to clean your PC, is come down here to your File Explorer, pull that up, and we're going to want to access your C drive, your main hard drive. If I come over here on the left and I hit this PC, you'll see it pops up and gives me the C drive down here, or you can usually find it over here as well and click on it there. But follow along with me. We're going to go a little deep here into the hard drive. I'm going to go to local disk C. Okay, I'm going to go to users. And you're going to want to open the file that's your username on the computer. If you have multiple users, you'll want to do this same procedure for all of the users. So you can see there's only one here for mine, HM Laptop 1. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my user profile. Okay, and you can see there's a variety of different folders here. Now you're going to want to go to View over here on the top, click on View, and come down to Show. Under Show, you're going to want to go to Hidden Items. Check Hidden Items, and now it's going to show folders that don't normally show up. You have to tell them to show up. They're hidden. Okay, you're going to want to access the hidden folder. You can see they don't stand out as much. They're kind of faded. So you want to go ahead and open up App Data. Okay, so open up App Data, and then you're going to want to go to Local. And then you're going to want to come down, it's alphabetical, to your temp folder. Okay? You want to open up that temp folder. Now bear in mind, I don't hardly use this laptop for anything. It's used for very little. You can see there's a lot of temp files in here, even from just the little use that this laptop gets. If you have a computer that you use all the time for a lot of things with a lot of programs, this can get really full. And a lot of times, malicious programs will store themselves in here. But what you want to do is delete everything in this folder. So I'm going to hit on my keyboard Control A. That's going to select everything. Control A. That will select every file and folder in this location. After that, you can either right click and hit delete, or just hit the delete key on your keyboard. When you click on delete, it's going to start sending things to the recycle bin, and you're going to get some of these that are required. It's going to say, "Hey, I can't delete this. It's being used by something." That's okay. Just hit skip. You can also do it for all current items. Skip, and it'll delete everything that's not in use. Okay, it's important to go through here and try to clean this up every once in a while, because it legit can cause problems. I've seen it many, many times. So just remember how to get to here and what we just did. Okay, so that's an area you want to keep clean. Now, I did show this in the previous video, but I want to show it to you again, especially if you're a Google Chrome user. A lot of malware will install a program or its own browser, and a lot of times you'll get little tiny things that are just little bugs, little programs that are going to want to change your web browser. If that ever gets changed, you just come up here to Settings, to the three dots, and then come down to Settings. Go to Default Browser. I'm sorry, Search Engine, not Default Browser. Come to Search Engine. And you can manage your search engines by clicking there and removing any extra search engines. Now, I'm not going to go over this anymore because this is in my previous video in lesson 6. If you want to know more, go watch that video and you're going to get an instruction on how to remove unwanted search engines that may have gotten into your web browser. So this is another area you want to check. So far we've talked about opening Windows Defender, running a full scan, how to clean your temp folder, and also how to keep your browser clean, at least from extra search engines that try to embed themselves into Chrome and take over and to be used. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is in your All Apps section. Okay, in here you can see there's a lot of programs installed. Now, on your computer, you're probably going to have more than I do. Regardless, you can see there's a lot there, right? Now, if you go to the Start menu and instead right-click and go to Apps and Features. Apps and Features is going to give you a list of all of the installed programs on the computer. A lot of times malware doesn't hide very well, and it is going to show up as a program that's installed in the computer. There's a lot of lame programs out there that want to install themselves, and you don't want them on your computer. And I'm going to show you an easy example on how that happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up Google Chrome. Now you don't have to follow me for this, but I'm going to go download Adobe Reader. Okay, it's a free PDF program. Now let's see where they've moved it on their website. Aha! Okay, so here it is down here on the very bottom. You can see we've got featured downloads. I love how they're featured, yet they're tucked away clear in the bottom where they're hard to find. If I click on Reader, and let's say I go, ooh yeah, I want Adobe Acrobat Reader DC. It's a free program for viewing PDFs. I actually use this program all the time. It's a great program. But let's just follow along here, okay? I just clicked on it. Ooh, let's download it. Now, if you're not careful, if you see here, you're gonna get extra stuff. Get more out of Acrobat. Install the Acrobat Reader Chrome extension, and it'll install that extension for you as well, okay? Which, that can be fine. I'm okay with that. But a lot of times when you go to download a free program, there's gonna be a lot more that's trying to install besides just a Chrome extension. It'll try to install other programs with it. And a lot of times those programs can be malicious. But let's go ahead and download Acrobat Reader. We're going to run this installer. Adobe Acrobat is going to install. Old, new Acrobat version already installed. Okay, whatever. Anyways, you can see there that it was trying to install a little extra tidbit with the Reader DC program. Okay, a lot of times it looks like they don't have it anymore. They used to have a McAfee Secure Scan or whatever, some extra program that you had to uncheck, or it downloaded it with it and installed it. I hope that makes sense. So I just wanted to show you an example. Now, they're not all going to look the same, but you just have to be careful when you're downloading anything free to watch for extra add-ons. Okay, a lot of times during the installer process as well, after you started installing it, it'll also ask you that questions, or you have to tell it to show more advanced options to see what it's installing. Now I know that might be kind of hard to follow along with, but just keep that in the back of your mind for whenever you're installing a free program. You have to be careful about that. Now, if those extra programs do get installed, you will see them in your apps and features list, and you're going to want to remove them. Now you can see here, I've got the Adobe Acrobat DC already installed, and there's no Chrome extension that I see here. It probably just puts it into Chrome. It doesn't show up as an app. But if it had like that McAfee Secure Scan, that would also show up here, and you can remove it. Now I've seen a lot of programs where people have downloaded them, and they've gotten the extra install programs that come with it, and you got to remove them all. Now, there's a really important thing to understand. Yes, you can remove it from here. But I'm going to show you guys a really awesome free tool that you can use to remove them. That's much better than the built-in Windows app manager. So go ahead and open up your web browser. I'm using Google Chrome. If I type Revo Uninstaller free, okay? Revo Uninstaller. Make sure you're on the right website. You've got RevoUninstaller.com. You can just type that in your address bar instead to be real safe. But you can see if you're on the right one. You can see I've been here. Okay, Revo Uninstaller. Come to Downloads. Now, I can come over here to the left, and you'll see Revo Uninstaller Freeware. Okay, this is a free program. Okay, you can buy the better versions or whatever. You don't really need it unless you're a tech or really know what you're doing. But let's just go ahead and download this free uninstaller. Revo setup. We're going to run the file that it downloaded down here on the left. We're going to run it. Yes, we want to allow it to make changes. Yes. Sure, I accept your agreement. Sure, give me a shortcut desktop. Okay, nothing goofy here with Revo, thankfully. Okay, we're not going to launch it yet. We're going to go ahead and hit finish. But here, thankfully, you can see it's not showing any extra weird programs to go along with the free uninstaller. But that is something you want to check. Okay, so we've installed the Revo Uninstaller. Now here's the program. Let's go ahead and run the program. Now, you're going to have an interface here. This interface shows you all of the programs installed that it can remove. Okay, I don't really have much here to uninstall, but so I can show you, we're going to go ahead and uninstall a program. Okay, we're going to uninstall this, my Acrobat DC, so I can always redo it. You highlight the program you want to uninstall, and you come up to uninstall. Click that. Are you sure that you want to uninstall the selected program? You can make a system restore point before uninstall if needed. I don't need to do that. I know I want this program gone. I'm going to hit continue. Okay, here is why using this Revo Uninstaller is good. Because the Revo Uninstaller will actually find leftover files that don't get removed through the built-in uninstall process. Revo is really good at grabbing those extra files that don't get removed during its normal uninstall, and it will remove them for you. A lot of times if you go to uninstall a program from using the Windows app, it'll pull the program out, but it leaves those files behind. If you're trying to remove programs that are malicious, a lot of times it will leave some of those malicious programs behind. You want them gone. So using the Revo Uninstaller is a better way to remove programs that you know are malicious. So we're going to go ahead and click next. We're going to remove. It's running the Acrobat DC uninstaller now. So these will look different depending on the program you're uninstalling. Now it's going to finish this uninstall. Okay, so it finished the built-in uninstaller through the Adobe program. And now, after the program's uninstaller has finished, press the scan button to start scanning for leftover files. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go with moderate. That's typically the one you're going to want to use. Click on scan. We'll see if Adobe leaves anything extra. Look at that. These leftover registry items are still installed on the computer. Now, sometimes it takes a full reboot for them all to go away. So these might have gone away after a reboot, but they also might not have. You want them all gone. You don't want any of that program left. You want to remove the whole program. You don't want it leaving traces. So you click on select all and delete. Are you sure you want to delete these? Yeah, I'm sure. Found leftover files and folders. Select all. Delete. Yes. Get them out. As you can see, that found a lot more than the built-in uninstaller uses. So that is a good way if you have programs that you know that you did not install or that are malicious or that you just know you want to get rid of. This is a better program to use for uninstalling. I hope you're able to follow along. I know this video is a little more advanced in this last lesson, this lesson 7 video. If you have questions, just shoot me a comment down below. Now, you can see up here I've also got a tools option. I can click on tools and I can do a Windows cleaner, junk files cleaner, auto runs manager. The only one here as a basic user I would recommend using is the junk files cleaner. If you click on the junk files cleaner, you're going to see you have scan up here. So go ahead and click on scan, and that's actually going to do a scan for just junk files that it finds in the computer that just don't need to be there, that are taking up space. And it could scan for some time depending on how much it has to scan. So you just have to be patient and wait. Okay, so mine got done running a scan. You can see it did find some junk files that do not need to be there. Okay, so they're all going to automatically be checked. So you just come up to delete, click on delete. It's going to clean all those files out of the computer. There are files that are in use by Windows and other program can't be deleted now. That's fine. Those are probably going to be used for something that's okay. But you can see here, we did just do a basic cleanup on our computer. Now, the uninstaller, coming back here, before you uninstall anything, you want to make sure it's a program you know you don't want on the computer. If you don't know what the program is, you can always do a Google search on it. If you have a program and you don't know what it is, I've got production server here. Let's say that's not, I don't know where that came from. I can go, well, let's go look up production server. And I go, oh, that's that Colorgate program that I use. Okay, cool. So you can go, oh, that's right, I want to keep that. So just do a Google search if you don't know what it is. And a lot of times, if you don't know what it is and you do a Google search, it might get some information about it not being good. So it is good to do some research sometimes before you just go removing programs. Okay, so we just went over a basic PC cleanup, how to keep it clean. Okay, you got this Revo Uninstaller you can use. You got the built-in Windows Defender that you can use. I showed you that temp files directory. I've showed you how to keep your Google Chrome to make sure you're using the right search engine, as those can be overridden and hijacked. If you guys have any questions, please shoot me a comment down below. There's a lot more to a cleanup that we could go deeper, but I'm afraid to go too deep because it does get a bit more technical. There are other programs you can use. There is a free program called Super Anti-Spyware Free Edition that you could use. There's a program called ADW Cleaner that you could use. There's paid versions, like I said before. They're not entirely necessary. If your computer really does get too infected and you are a new user on a computer, you might want to take it down to a computer store and have them do a cleanup for you on it. Regardless, a lot of these things that I just showed you can really keep your computer clean. If you're just careful on where you're going on the internet, paying attention to the websites you're visiting, if anything looks fishy, just stay away from it. If you get an email from somebody you don't know that's trying to direct you to a download, don't open the email. Don't download anything unless you know exactly what you're getting from a family member that sent you something or a friend. Make sure you know what you're downloading. Also, there's a lot of scams out there where it'll look like an Amazon receipt and they'll say, hey, your order on Amazon went through, and it says like $2,000, you bought something for $2,000, but they're fake. If anything comes through like that, just ignore it. You can try to contact Amazon directly by going to amazon.com. If you just see anything fishy in your email, just don't click on it. Don't open it. Avoid anything fishy that you do not recognize. If you're really careful with your computer, you can keep it nice and clean. Like I said, I don't run an antivirus, and I haven't had a virus literally since I think 2011, 2010 on my computer, because I just have gotten familiar with the computer and I know where not to go and how to keep it clean on my own. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day. Peace out.